Have you ever noticed how easy it is to recognize a problem that isn't yours? The overflowing rubbish bin in the office, the friend who's clearly struggling, the volunteer who's carrying too much, the neighborhood that feels just a little less connected than it used to. Most of us notice these things, far fewer of us ask a different question. At what point does this become my responsibility? That's the question I've been thinking about as I've read this week's Torah portion, Parashat Pinchas. The obvious reading is that Pinchas was decisive while everyone else hesitated, but I think something even more interesting is happening here. At the end of last week's parasha, the Israelites are in a crisis. A plague is spreading. People are dying. Moshe is there. The elders are there. The community is gathered. Everyone can see before their very eyes what's happening. The Torah even tells us, Kol adat b'nei Yisrael v'heima vochim petach ohel moed. All the house of Israel, they were weeping at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Everyone is witnessing the same reality. Only one person behaves as though the crisis belongs to them. That's what intrigues me. Pinchas doesn't simply see the problem differently, he relates to it differently. Everyone else is watching events unfold. Pinchas acts as though he is inside the story rather than standing beside it. And whether or not we agree with his actions, and Jewish tradition itself wrestles deeply with them, that shift in mindset is extraordinary. Communities don't survive because everyone notices what's wrong. Most people are capable of noticing. Communities survive because every so often someone quietly decides, I can't keep talking about this as though it's happening to somebody else. Perhaps that's one of the biggest differences between observers and builders. Observers ask, whose fault is this? Builders eventually ask, what part of this belongs to me? Not because everything is their responsibility, it isn't, but because they've stopped assuming that responsibility always belongs somewhere else. And that's why this week's kavanah is about acting decisively to protect what matters. Not every situation calls for dramatic action. Most don't. More often, protecting what matters looks like making the phone call, having that difficult conversation, picking up the piece of work nobody else wants, checking in on the person everyone assumes somebody else has already checked in on. The decisive act is often surprisingly ordinary. This Shabbat I'll be asking myself what problem I've categorized quietly as someone else's responsibility. And for you, where in your life are you still standing at the entrance of the tent, watching, when perhaps you're being invited to step inside the story and take ownership of it? Shabbat Shalom.